Dear colleagues, I would like to welcome you at our masterclass, and I would like to say that I'm with the Continental Corporation, and I'm in charge of service segment, covering the Russian market and the markets of CIS countries. So Continental is a transnational corporation that also provides conveyor belts and conveyor transportation systems. So just today, I would like to make this presentation on the latest technology that is designed for inspection of rollers. So and that is one of the solutions that is offered by Continental. So you are aware of the fact that we've been using more lengthy conveyor systems, and these are more powerful ones because processing plants, they take remote locations and then ores, so they change in their grade, so the productivity should be enhanced. And we see that these conveyor systems, they need to be able to operate at high loading loads and have this better bearing capacity. So we'll look at the length. Again, the length is very significant, covering like 10, 20, 30, 40 kilometers of conveyor lines. And so rollers would be the basic consumable utilized for the conveyor, and we are talking about hundreds, 100,000 of rollers. So there's rollers, as I said, these are consumables, and they can be broken, so they can be malfunctioning. So we need to inspect very closely the operating conditions and then know what to do. In terms of maintenance and repair, we do know that there are inspections on site that would be checking on the condition of the rollers. However, this inspection method is a bit problematic because it lags behind in comparison with the more advanced technology. These inspection methods are mainly manual, so like checks, manual, so no automation. This is time-consuming and very difficult to perform or carry out. So, and it's driven by people, so there's a human factor at play. Some defects are not accurately reported, or probably they can be overlooked and just missed. So as a result of this manual checks, we see that all reports are paper-based, complicated, and again prone to some errors or typos. They will have to be converted into SAP or other just electronic formats, and all this exercise is unreliable and time-consuming. So I would like to focus attention on this small part as rollers. So just the conveyor belt is expensive in terms of downtime, because downtime is detrimental to the end consumer. So look at these larger processing plants, and for copper, because it will be hundred thousands in euro, they will have to pay for downtime of their conveyors, and that's the opportunities lost, and just unplanned downtime is a problem to many plants. So we need to find ways to overcome those problems, and we do know that 30% of our downtime counts to this is due to faulty rollers, because conveyor rollers are the key element in the conveyor, and there are too many of them, and obviously there is a very high likelihood that rollers will go off and they will can stuck with the belt, and this will just interfere with the continuous process on site. And annual loss of income is also due to malfunctioning rollers, and they contribute to 3% of such annual loss. So we are talking about finding this timely and proper solution for rollers and to have them replaced very quickly. So therefore, we would like to suggest our technology as a way to tackle this problem. So this is our solution, and it uses remote inspection via drones, so that drones are remotely controlled. It's like a drone control system. The drone will be flying over the length of the conveyor belt, and then obviously it will not cover all the mileage, all the length, and therefore there will be some stations for fueling stations. And the drones will just make these stops, and while making this stop for fueling, it will be sending data to remote servers, which I will explain in more detail a bit later. In addition to that, also we have this video camera and infrared pictures, so the information, all data would go to the cloud-based server, and then from that cloud-based service, and the information will be communicated to the customers or the user server, and then the user will find all the information relating to the operating conditions of both the conveyor and its rollers. So there are three components to this solution. Then first, we're looking at this flying object, the drone itself, under the system to control, for data collection and data transmission, so the transfer. This will be provided by the suppliers of drones, and we are relying on the technology because this technology is well developed and it's being widely used in the mining as well. So, for instance, for mapping and the related work. So just this has also been used for scheduling mining operations, and this is a proven kind of technology. And then we have two other components, and it's our own development. The first will be an AI algorithm based on neural networks, so they would be aggregating information, processing data, and it will go through analytics, and then as a result, we get data to be communicated to the user server. And that the user server, or we call it the customer interface, so this is a contact point which can be installed in a notebook or with a laptop, or maybe with a mobile or any other digital device, a mobile device that you are carrying. So the idea is that interface will be collecting all information and data relating to conveyors and rollers, and this information then be used to schedule as maintenance operations or major repairs. So probably there will be no major repairs, and just decide to continue inspection and checks for the time being. So now we're looking at the stages. So we start with the first stage with an inspection, and just a drone would be flying over the conveyor, just capturing the inside through infrared camera, and that would be recording all rollers that are visible for the drone, including those that are overheated. Because these overheated rollers we categorize as the damaged ones, and this then data would go to the cloud-based server. That's our server that held at Continental. So as remember in the very beginning, I mentioned that drones would be approaching this fueling station, the charging station. So once they approach this charging station, there will be this communication channel with the network and other servers. So this data collected by the drone will then be sent to the cloud, And then the cloud will engage us with these algorithmic modules. So they will then identify the specific rollers, and then they would create a region of interest to analyze in terms of temperature rising. So we see that there is rollers that are overheated. Then we highlight them as the area of damaged rollers, so that the algorithm and the results would be sent to the user, and this will be supported by recommendations and reports on the technical and operating conditions of the conveyor belts. So which you can see, it's like going into detail for the 10 meters, and of each and every roller with defects will be highlighted and recorded, whether it is color coded, also for the convenience of the user. And then all this information can be used to make a decision whether a specific roller needs to be replaced or just or it can be left in operation for some time. And this is how the system works. And so that's a decision-making curve. And just to demonstrate our approach, and this is a very schematic representation. Just you get this rule, and as the rollers are consumable, so they'll be having their life cycle as well, and so rollers will become defective because of technical just wear and tear, and we'll see this traces of destruction, but not all of those traces are visible, or they can be just captured, because you can also see them through sounds, vibration, but it's not necessarily the case that for a person it will be easy to just spot or to pinpoint this roller through visual inspection, but the temperature can be seen as a very reliable indicator, because once the temperature goes up, and we use this infrared camera, so that is based on neuron knowledge, and that is well taught to register all such objects, so just a predicative way of highlighting defective rollers, and which then will be scheduled for maintenance and repair. So it will be more of a preventive approach rather than trying and just save it from destruction just at the very final day, because otherwise we'll just end up with downtime, and then we'll have to pay, as I said, so just a lot, like up to 100,000 euros per hour. And there's another important element, that is an interface, the user interface. So this part is used for that purpose in the slide. So and there are two formats that can be used. So the first is general, like giving you overall view, and then aggregated information about the defects and rollers and different conveyor belts. So you get your trend, and then you can analyze the trend to differentiate between conveyor belts, to see these conveyor systems, whether they perform well, or just what's the level of defects that can be observed in them. And then you can go into detail and check the conditions of individual rollers based on GPS coordinates. So the level of defects in them and level of their operating conditions, so all this data will help you to decide whether repair is needed or not. So this is an innovative system, and we are suggesting that there are 3 steps to have it integrated. So with the inspection system for conveyor belts, so step number 1 would be demonstration. So we'll be demonstrating the principles, underlying principles of the system. and then it operates and trying to prove its economic value. So we just take one pilot conveyor belt and then we'll set up the system. So the operator will be relying on this drawn data for the operational maintenance of one single isolated conveyor belt, so that taking the data manually. But then we're moving on to the next stage, that we're talking about this limited deployment of solutions, so moving from one conveyor to several conveyors, and that is going to be the semi-automatic mode for us to check the conditions of those conveyors that have been selected for the rollout exercise, so and that it can prove the long-term value of the system and to see whether it is efficient and effective enough. And finally, we'll see this full-scale rollout, and then could be to cover all units in the conveyor system and to be provided with also with the predictive maintenance systems and all-time monitoring systems. And there are specific advantages that we can find with the implementation of the system, and I have already explained, so that just for the units that you may need, these include drones and then charging stations, so this meteorological station to register temperature and ambient air, so that, and also cables and other accessories that may be required to ensure this connection to the network. So we use the remote control system for drones, and further I will schedule planned inspection and maintenance on the conveyors, so to make sure that the safety measures are in place. So we would train operators on how to use them, and in parallel would be also just trying to prevent any emergency situations and ensure against these risks. So just to will be outlining this flight area for drones, and as for the analytics or analysis, so these are neuron-based algorithms. So all data that are received will then be transferred to the cloud. So just analyzing temperature levels and then delivering reports on critical conditions of rollers. And this data can be found with a user interface. And another point, which are benefits, and these include this very frequent, just or scheduled checks and inspections of conveyor systems. It will enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of this exercise. And we do get lots of detail about operating conditions of rollers. So for the user or for the customer, obviously it is a plus, because they become more proactive rather than reactive, because they can predict and they can now better schedule for the placement of rollers, and it further facilitates access to those places or to those parts of the system that cannot be accessed very easily, or probably those that have this elevation and it's difficult for a person to climb up to check condition of rollers. And as I said, safety. So safety goes first, and the safety level gets better because we reduce interaction between operators and conveyors, and so that provides more time to focus their also attention on scheduling, so maintenance and repairs, rather than going back and forth and checking visually all the conditions of rollers. And that would also improve the ratio of readiness and reduce downtime for the asset. To see this general flowchart or for the system, so that's the cloud-based platform developed by Continental, which is called Conti. and that is linked through Internet to the ground-based control unit, and then the base station for drones. So all parts are well connected and communicated. So as an additional control function, so can be used, for instance, when you need to ground your drone, or if you just want to use it for any other special purpose. So then user interface that would receive the information that has been processed by the cloud and then produce it in reports for the purposes of scheduling, maintenance, and repair. This system has proven to be effective with several assets in the mining industry in Europe, and we are now planning to start operations in South America with the major companies to make sure that the systems are utilized on a larger scale. So that's it from me, and I'll be happy to take your questions.
I don't have this information. As far as I know, it's an independent system, standalone, and its integration with the monitoring of the joints, I don't see, because we inspect by this system only the rollers. UAV cannot see in details the condition of the conveyor belt. It's easier for the customer to look at both things, at the junctions and at the rollers. So I think it would be logical to put them together, the front end, for the customer, in order to view it from one window. And can you touch it somehow, a kind of, the customers, something what can be expected when we, install this system or when we set up it? So what I have now, I cannot show you anything right now in the cloud, this technology, but of course it exists, and I can ask for this. I can ask Continental if they have to give you a demo, better version for you, then you can check yourself. I think it's possible, yes. More questions? Alexei, as I understand, you control the flight by using GPS coordinates. How it will operate in the workshop, for example, or in the indoor facility? Unfortunately, we never consider such a possibility that UAVs are used in the indoor, facilities, and I think the matters of security will not allow us to use UAV. More than that, UAV, when it follows the GPS system, when it is navigated by the GPS system, so if there is any kind of facility, then the signal may be lost. Either we have to install some tags here, but it's a different story. We're connected to GPS, and for this we need that UAV should be directly accessible for the satellites. So it's only open space. And how often, your recommendations, how often should be these inspections carried out? How often? What is the frequency of the inspections? In order to keep them in a proper condition, every customer has its own calendar about the frequency of the inspections, maybe several times per week. It may be done several times per week. But as I understand now, it can be done once in 2 weeks, even once in 3 weeks, and not systematically. Automized system allows you to do it practically every day, but I think you don't need it every day, but quite often would be recommended. Alexei, please tell me which model of UAV you use. We work with different manufacturers, UAV manufacturers, including DJI. This is Matrix 300, Matrice, yes, Matrice 200, Matrice 300, including these drones too. That's you look at the picture and you recognize them. If you know drones, then you can recognize the model. It's quite recognizable in its profile. It's a commercial UAV, well known and commonly used in Markshedria for surveying. More questions, dear colleagues? I was expecting a lot of questions. And then lunch. Okay, then I think it's over. I want to thank everybody for your attention, and I give the floor to the other speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to greet all of you at our masterclass, Continental. I represent the Department of Research and Development, which is located in the United States and in many other places. First thing I want to mention, but Continental Company this year celebrates its anniversary. On the 8th of October 1971, it was founded in Hanover. 3 days after, we're going to celebrate the anniversary of the company. 30 years after it, and the race in Nice, the Mercedes car equipped the pneumo machines of Continental Company takes the first prize. In 1903, the first representative office of Continental was opened in St. Petersburg. And as you may see, Continental Company already operates for 120 years in Russia. In 1904, Continental releases the first tires with the drawings on them, and in 1905 the first replaced tires, in 1907 the changeable tires, and in 1907 the first in the world auto atlas has been released. In general, Continental Company is quite a big one, diversified company that produces a lot of different products, including tires. There are about 5,500 employees in 16 countries around the world. Our business unit supplies products and services for mining, metallurgy, cement industry. We manufacture any kind of conveyor belts and auxiliary materials for the conveyors and different types of conveyors. Main records in the world which are related with the conveyors, they belong to Continental. If you look here at this supply chain, which is typical for the mining industry, then you can see that in any step there are solutions of the Continental Company. You can find them either as a conveyor belts or conveyors or some services and repair materials, beginning with the extraction of the mineral deposits and commodities up to the processing. We also provide services on development and design of the conveyors, including those which we do not manufacture. And we also advise on maintenance, and we are also involved in repairs. As you can see here, this is the full range of our products. Our pipeline, I would say it's a short review of our pipeline in mining industry, where solutions of Continental company are used. You see that we work directly in manufacturing and supplies of conveyors, also solutions for underground and open mining, for open mines, for horizontal solutions, and for the vertical solutions. So our products can operate at any angle. Here you can see the monitoring system that we offer now, and there are two types of this monitoring system. The first type, which is installed directly on the conveyor, and they follow the condition of the conveyor, any time of tear, and then the junctions, also any cuts, if any. And the second type of the monitoring system is a portable monitoring system. When a customer order this service without purchasing the equipment, and our experts and technicians come to the site and they perform monitoring and analyze the condition of the conveyor. Conveyor Inspect, this is one of our latest innovative products that was already released to the market, and Alexei was talking about it. Next very important topic, and this is a matter of our concern. This is carbon neutrality of our company, carbon neutral technology, and this is important not because only we want it, but you see what happens in the world. We observe the certain changes, and there are also changes that are reflected in the legislation. And in terms of requirements, we see there are the requirements of the Paris Convention. In other words, we see that now carbon taxes are introduced, and the companies that manufacture and release products, export products, that export their products, they have to meet very tough competition in terms of carbon tax. This is the first thing at the part of this carbon tax and carbon neutrality is recycling. Recycling of the supplied product, that is the second quite important issue, and it's a matter of our concern as well. And the largest mining corporations in the United States, Australia, Brazil, they relate the manager's bonus to the carbon neutrality and recycling of the products. So what do we see here in terms of emissions? The first type of emissions, this is that appear directly, as we may call the controlled sources of emissions, when the conveyors are produced at our manufacturing sites. The second category, the so-called indirect emissions. As you know, for many products, for the majority of the products which were made of rubber, you have to purchase energy for it, for the vulcanization process. Thus, we purchase energy. This is the second category of the emissions. And the third category is directly related to transportation of the finished goods to the customers, or when we attract the outsourcing companies that also can emit carbon. For our company, it is really very important to reduce the carbon footprint. How can we achieve this? The first category, within this first category, what we can do. When we design our conveyors, whenever it's possible, whenever it's feasible, if we participate in this, we help to choose the decision or the solution. We either look at the topography of the land and we install the conveyors. They can generate energy themselves. If they're installed at an angle, they do not consume energy, they generate it. When we see the transformation of the potential energy into the kinetic ones. And the second type of the emissions and how we can reduce them. We can achieve it due to the application of the specific insulators and sealers at the bottom. There is a certain type of rubber that allows you to reduce friction between the rollers and the rubber cells. This type of the conveyors allows you to reduce the energy consumption at the long conveyors up to 30%. The third, when we assess CapEx and OpEx, when we compare what's more profitable, what's more beneficial, in the majority of cases we see that if it is a long conveyor, long-distance conveyor, then we can considerably reduce the trucks that is used for transportation of the ore. Here we see also the certain contribution of our company. And the fourth thing that should be taken into account, and we actively now work on this sector, this is the process of recovery, recycling of the used products, and the process of when old product is renewed in such a way that it can be used repeatedly. Shortly, I would like to represent two comparatively new products. The first one, ContiClean. Those who are present here and those who know Continental's products, you know that that exists for quite a long time, but it was just in one version. But here, ContiClean is made for in many versions, including for transportation of ore. And we are now going through certification of this material and this product for the underground application. The modern rubber ContiClean is very different from the solution that was used before, and it allows us to apply this conveyor belt in many industries. So this conveyor belt allows you to reduce the pressing of the sticky material to the belt itself and on the supporting roller. This is the material that sticks to the conveyor or to the bearing rolls and to the drums, and it causes the tearing of the conveyor and elements of the conveyor belt. And another element, which is also very important for the mining companies, this is the issues related with the environmental safety. Here you can see rather simple and standard conveyors, which are not equipped with the ContiClean. You see the material sticks to the conveyor. We see the tearing and wearing of the elements of the conveyor. To the right, you can see what can happen if you do not remove these sticky materials, and it may cause the full destruction, and the conveyor will fail in the long run. As I mentioned already, today we have the whole line of ContiClean belts for different applications, not only in the cement industry, as it happened before, or for sticky materials where you cannot find big patches. Our calculations show you that we can reduce the price of the cleaning to 75% when we use this type of rubber. And of course, this is impact not only, it's our contribution not only for our planet and the mankind in general, as we see the reduction of the emissions and waste, but it's also very good for the profitability of the company. because costs for the cleaning costs of the conveyor and these sticky elements day to day take quite a big. They're rather expensive, require a lot of expenditures. Thus, there can be some positive savings for the company. So here you see one of the examples. It's taken from the US company. Here you may see the rate of the employee, $25 per hour. It's standard for the American mining company. If you, for instance, have a team of 15 people, if one person will be involved in cleaning of the conveyor for the whole working day, then we have about 4,000 euro, $4,400 per month that the company have to spend on cleaning that they would pay to this employee. If we speak about the life cycle of the conveyor belt, then we see the savings of $100,000 for the whole life cycle. Here you can see by red we show the contact clean belt, and by blue this is a standard mixture. So the difference is about $100,000. This example is taken from the American company. Second, quite an interesting product. This is so-called the Sunny Shield. This is the latest development of Continental company. Of course, there are a lot of different solutions in the world for the high temperatures. The situations which is related to the high temperatures, that means the thermo-resistant conveyor belts. So the last one allows you to increase the life threefolds. And as far as you know, many manufacturers of the conveyor belts will confirm that these temperature-resistant conveyor belts, their threshold is 200 grades per Celsius, but the type that we use now allows you to increase this temperature up to 400 degrees. I cannot give you the name of the caoutchouc we use for it, but those who know chemistry, those who know this product can have an idea what type of the product we use. We use the certain mixtures that allows to increase these temperatures, this threshold up to 400 degrees, and to make it very reliable, durable. And in this situation, our calculations show, not only calculations, but also tests show that we can increase their lifetime in threefold. What types of damages we can see in the heat-resistant conveyors? First, quite traditional, which is the cracks that we can see on the seals. And the second type, this is damages of the frame. And the third, this is the damages in the junction. And due to this new mixture, new blending, we can reduce 3 times the costs for these elements, and to increase the temperature, we can use this conveyor belt at the temperature interval, not up to 200 degrees, but in the interval within 200 to 400 degrees, within this range. Here you can see on the picture, on the image, the standard heat-resistant belt, and you can see this joint in the middle, and to the right and to the left you can see the rubber mixture or sealings made of the automotive sun shield rubber. We tested it for 8 months or 3,845 hours at a temperature of 400 degrees. This is transportation of the hot clinker from the burning up to the mill. And we established that the standard heat-resistant type of the conveyor belt, irrespective of the manufacturer, of the brand, It's about from 3 to 4 months. The Continental has higher period, but the new type of the rubber allows you again to increase 3-4 times of their life time. And as you can see on top and in the bottom, there are no any type of cracks. You cannot find them. I would like to ask you to have a look at 2 videos. ContiClean, first of them is ContiClean. Here you can see the standard conveyor belt. You see a lot of sticky material on the belt. And the second one, this is the same conveyor, but with the rubber ContiClean. As you see here, no kind of sticking material. It is well cleaned. And of course, we can reduce the expenditures at cleaning. And again, it's a contribution to the general environmental protection. So that is all that I have for today. That is my presentation. I want to inform you about these 2 new products. If you have any questions, please, you're welcome. Mikhail? Good day. My question is related to to the conveyor belt at the extreme temperatures. So we use the same rubber for all elements of the conveyor. You understand? So the same rubber of this specific caoutchouc, which is used for instance, for fireproof costumes for the firemen. We also add some elements there. So there are no any kind of cracks that you can find on the joint. This is the general heat resistance conveyor. We perform tests in the United States. I hope Mikhail and your colleagues that represent our interests in Russia and Continental, you will supply to several metallurgic plants for the tests in Russia, that in our mining industry we also have the positive experience, not only in the United States and South Africa. Thank you very much. Good day, Andrei. I have a question. You, as a representative, which are now mainly involved in research and development, maybe in general, can you tell us what are the new trends we can find globally in terms of, developments, the advanced technologies in Continental? What are you doing right now? And these changes, which are related to this approach of the carbon neutrality, how can they impact the technology of the manufacturing of the conveyor belts, of different type of materials? Maybe you see some kind of changes in this area, especially in our business of conveyor belts. When we are going to the green economy, we are transformed to the green economy. Of course, there is a number of research projects, and we are involved in them, not only in our business unit, but also many business units also take part in this project.
These are all about new materials, so I will not specify the kind of materials that we'll be using, but what I can tell you is that those will have a very low carbon footprint. And yes, I said that low carbon footprint materials that can be recycled almost totally, and this is something that we cannot do today because to the belts that are being used. So that innovative and new materials, that the first trend, and the second trend is digitalization, and we'll soon see very interesting solutions, digital solutions for inspection and checks to be carried out on conveyor systems. Just the current solution includes several functions, and we can check the noise level with the bearing rollers, and it's not even the role of drones, because drones can be equipped with cameras and features. for registering temperature levels. But my colleagues, they are more on the IT side. So what they want to do is to produce with the functionality, to provide you with the functionality that will enable you to get results online. So just if you buy the package, then you can just fly this drone every day, or you can do it on a weekly basis. And as far as I know, that the American companies for the project I've been involved with, so that would be done on a daily basis, like 2 operators just would be going along all conveyors just at slow speed. They'll be listening to the operation of conveyors, and in addition to that, they also have these monthly inspections. Just they would go along either with us or they will do it themselves, and that's this monitoring system that is being used, and we have it also connected to the cloud and the algorithms that we are developing now. So, and again, I said that will going to be real time, and for operators there will be no need to leave the control room just for the purposes of checks and inspections. So this can be done remotely, because we know that usually these checks just they need to be carried out by many people, and this is a time-consuming exercise. And Alexei has already explained about this conveyor inspect solution that we offer. So the second area, as I said, is digitalization and introduction of new digital services. And what's next? Finally, those new business models that will come into play after they're fully developed and prepared for deployment. Those business models would include the calculation of costs associated with the use of this program software solutions. But again, back to these 2 major trends, like new materials and digital solutions. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you very much for attending. So for those of you that just learn from us today, so you can just seek assistance from our representatives, and we have the engineering department that provides engineering support, and they do sales as well in Moscow. So we are Moscow-based, and this conveyor group has a long-term presence in Russia. So this is one of the well-known brands, just one of the best in the world. So very innovative brand indeed. So thank you.